All right. I am Linda Deer. Another Saturday at 1 p.m. Pacific time, right here on my Facebook page, Facebook timeline, and YouTube channel. Last week was the 9th episode of Lessons from Guided. Today, I will be reading from the 137 tips, learnings, lessons, and awarenesses sprinkled throughout my true life story, Guided. Guided is the roadmap for stepping on board at any point along your life path so you can join forces with your spirit guides and angels, creating a better life than you could have done on your own. Just when I thought I was done writing Guided, my guides started to wake me up at 1 a.m. every morning for 2 weeks in a row. Starting from the beginning of my manuscript, stopping me where they wanted to add a tip, a learning, a lesson, or an awareness. They told me these would help the reader understand how guidance works in their life. These are like afterthoughts of reflection on what was really going on in my life while I was living it. Living in two worlds, not just this one. This is what consciousness is all about, being aware of what's really going on from this greater awareness. In my training, I show you, like my guides showed me, how this works. All right, and here's the book I'm going to be reading from, Guided. This is my flagship book. This is what started everything, the first book I wrote. And after I wrote this book, I was overwhelmed with an endless line of people from around the world wanting to know how guided works in their life. And that's when I wrote, a couple years later, I wrote the companion journals to Guided. Actually, 4 years later, I published these two journals that became the Guided journal writing system, is what I'm going to be training you guys on next month. All right. So today, I'm going to be in chapter 12. There's 28 chapters in Guided. And all my books, by the way, can be found on Amazon. Guided can be found in paperback, Kindle, and audiobook format. And I read the book myself. Okay. And there's two other books that aren't even displayed here. I have a total of 5 books now that are interconnected books. So today, chapter 12 of 28 chapters, second warning, and I listen. And before I read you, this is going to be a learning that we're leading up to here, all right? By the time I started building the 3 showcase homes, I was a home builder, an architect, and all that, and which led up to this. You could see the other videos I've done about the earlier chapters, all right? So by the time I started building the 3 showcase homes, change was in the air. It was palatable, but only to me. Nobody else could see what was coming. Nobody else was listening to their guides. They didn't even know how to. So many revelations occurred to me in that year. It was made clear to me by my guides that time had come to sell everything and stop building out into the future as things flipped-flopped. I was a home builder. They showed me that the things that worked before were no longer going to work. It was just the beginning of the warning signs that I would continue to receive from them. My guides' timely warnings let me know I had the time I needed to plan and regroup so I would not be crushed under the impending real estate crash, the end of my marriage, and Cindy's reaction to it all. That was my daughter. It was 1976 when I first got their warning. Trusting myself and changing, pivoting in an instant was what I had mastered in childhood thanks to my trusted advisors, my guides. It was easy for me because of that childhood boot camp. Really, it was natural for me to move that way that I was being guided. That came from seeing things for what they really are and adapting, pivoting, moving with it, not resisting. Colleagues, along with accountants and bankers and attorneys, watched me sell everything while the market continued to boom. They all told me I was nuts. Then they even said that I was creating the crash because of what I was doing, treating me like I was a traitor. That's crazy. I mean, I was creating it. I'm just one girl out there doing my thing. I'm going to create a real estate crash. Oh my God. That's how crazy they looked to me. Okay. And when you guys take the time, when you're under pressure, you're up against resistance and people who judge you. Who are they to judge you? They don't know everything. They're just living in this world. They don't even remember the world they came from and the guides who followed them here. They have no memory of it. Yet you're the one that looks crazy. Isn't that crazy? That's crazy. But I never let what others thought of me or how they judged me affect my better judgment. That was another skill I had perfected as a kid. I was used to doing unconventional things based on trusting and knowing myself and my guides. To say I was operating out of the box is an understatement. There was nothing I could do or say to convince anyone about what was coming. Again, I found myself in an experience like the merry-go-round illustrated. They couldn't be reached. Learning, and here's the learning that came from this for all of you. When your guides warn you of some impending danger or change, you need to listen and take action. The minute you hesitate, you it's like something that's pure. And the minute you hesitate, it drops 20% from being pure. And then you put it off and you make another excuse for it, for not taking action, and then it goes down to 50%. Guidance has a shelf life. All right. When they warn you repeatedly, you really need to listen and really need to take action. You guys might notice that when you have a dream repeatedly, or something like Groundhog Day, it's the same grind every day. What are you missing? Why are you caught up in this grind? There are so many options in this world. Why did you choose that? What is it you need to learn? That's why I wrote these journals. You need to write down what that is that's unappealing in your life. So you can't see it when you're in it, but when you get it out of here and you deposit it onto those journal writing pages, trust me, you'll start to see what you are doing or not doing, or what you're doing right and what you're doing wrong, and fix it. You can't see it when you're in it. So you reflect back in a few days about what you wrote. And then you go, your perspective on it is farther out. Now you just might see it. Okay? That's the whole point to doing this. That's actually how I performed on this as a kid. It was from journal writing, and that's why I teach it now. Okay, now we're going to move into a lesson. We were in the 5th year of building our businesses. I began to see that the success we had gained or changed both of us. We no longer had time for each other except when it came for business. I managed to take Cindy on trips and get her into sports. Any spare time I had, I spent with her. Alex was becoming cranky and unpredictable. Once we moved into the showcase home that I had built, living with him became more difficult. I really didn't understand what was wrong with him, and why he became so angry. My way of dealing with it was to steer clear of him as much as possible. So I just made myself not at home. As a result, there was no family life in the new family home. Alex loved the new home, but had lost his connection to his family. The end of our marriage was coming, just like my guides told me it would 5 years earlier. So when you write in your journal about what's going on with you, just 15 minutes a day, you'll be surprised when you look back a year from now, 5 years from now, okay? You'll look back and go, wow, it's like I'm psychic or something. You'll start to see yourself for who you are and this connection that you have with your guides. It's a game changer. You'll never be without answers again. You'll never feel alone again. You'll never feel lost again. You guys, this is so easy that people say it's hard because they're just not used to doing it. They're not used to taking care of this first. Okay. Not long after moving into our new home, one of Alex's carpenters came to me and hit me with a startling revelation. Apparently, not only was Alex unfaithful to me, he had a string of girlfriends. He said that Alex hardly ever showed up on the job site anymore. Alex was treating his carpenters badly, and they saw him losing touch with reality. They resented him and wanted to see him fail. See how it's like dominoes. Once this stuff starts to go down, it's just one thing after the other. But you'll look back at it, and maybe while you're in it, you'll say, wow, I didn't see that coming. Yes, you did. Yes, you did. Had you been writing down what was going on just 15 minutes a day, you would have looked back at your journal and said, oh, yeah, I saw this coming. Absolutely. There it is right there. I wrote it down July 24th, 2017. There it is. You're getting everything. You're getting all the guidance you need. You just have to stop missing it. Okay. The warnings from my guides that had started coming in about a year earlier were now beginning to reveal themselves on all fronts. It was like dominoes falling. There you go. I had already stopped buying land and building new homes. I was now a year into the building out and completion of my subdivision, the 5 custom homes, and the 2 other showcase homes I was building. I was also selling my rental properties. No one in my circle saw what was coming. When they asked me why I was pulling back, all I could tell them was the same thing I told them before. I saw a real estate crash coming. Now, I didn't bother to tell them how I knew that. Keep your guidance to yourself, okay? If you share that, it'd be like what you write in your journal, that you go and show everybody what you wrote down. You may as well throw it in the garbage. That's wrong. You can't be honest. You can't be brutally honest with yourself when you share it with other people. You'll cover up, you'll write for them instead of you writing your truth, okay? So keep your guidance to yourself. Keep your guidance to yourself. Okay. I was 25 years old, and I was really alone in this. I couldn't believe people were so blind to reality. Though no one else agreed with me, I knew my guides had it right once again. In 1977, I went to the first National Association of Builders convention for the Sacramento area. I found it to be a collection of the most arrogant, older men I could have ever imagined. I had never made time to go to any of these type of events before because I was too busy. I was too busy doing what I needed to do, managing my building projects, managing the framing business, taking care of Cindy, wondering what the heck's going on with Alex, my husband. Okay, I had my hands full. Even so, They knew who I was. Although I was incredibly successful, they treated me like their secretary. How about that one? Now, those were the days, you guys, the 70s. They smiled at me and laughed and blew me off. I was of no consequence to them, as they had underestimated me like so many times before. What I was hearing what I was hearing them talk about made me laugh. Laugh. They believed that their successes were all because of them. I jumped in at one point asking if they really believed that, and they said that they absolutely did. I laughed out loud, partly because they refused to see what was really happening right before our eyes, and that it was about to wipe them all out. Lesson. Here's the lesson. This is a perfect example of people taking total credit for the guidance that put them in the right place at the right time in the first place. Don't take credit for this. You're not that smart. I promise you that. But you are if you write it in your journal and you merge with your guides so you can begin to see the whole picture. As you continue to write in your journal about 15 minutes a day about what's going on, you're collaborating with your guides. You're having a conversation with yourself and those who guide you, who followed you here, okay? Put them to work. That's their job. They're waiting for you to be ready. Other self-help authors have referred to this as ego, easing God out. Ego is self-serving and it weighs you down with your own self-importance. That's when you know you're off your path, that you're in the way, that it's really a weak ego that does this. Nothing ever stays the same, and people's egos will eventually crush them because the ego does not like change. So every time change comes up and you resist it, that's your ego stepping in for you. Really, your ego's trying to protect you. Just let your ego know that it doesn't have to work so hard, okay? That you're going to raise you where you came from, who you really are. You're waking that up. You're bringing that into play. Using that to write down what's going on with you every day. So your ego goes, oh, thank you. I'm in there looking out for you. I've got your back. But you know how the ego is, it gets carried away. But if this part of you is missing, the ego has no choice. You put the ego in a bind. So when you see the ego jump forward, you are missing this part of you. Okay. All right. This is easy, you guys. Okay. So the next one's going to be a learning. And here's what preceded it in this book. Cindy was in the 3rd grade at the Waldorf school she had attended since kindergarten. I was not work It was not working out for her. Neither the teachers nor I could figure out why, under these stress-free conditions, Cindy would not apply herself. She was not self-motivated at all. Her grades were suffering, and she was really falling behind academically. Cindy told me she wanted to be like the regular kids and go to the public school. I was really surprised to hear that. I was obviously overprotecting her. Because her performance meant that she probably wouldn't be placed into her grade level at the public school, I enrolled her into another private school designed to catch her up. The plan was that by spending the 4th grade year in this catch-up school, she would be able to enter the public school system at her grade level. Her 4th grade year was very stressful for her, but because she chose to go to the public school, she was willing to do this instead of being embarrassed later when she couldn't keep up. Happily, the transition into the 5th grade at the public school went smoothly. And here's the learning. Everything that happens to you in your life happens for you and not to you. Even though I was surprised by all this, the universe, the guides, the plan, okay, can see the whole picture. We're here on the planet. We can't see it when we're in it. We're almost like pawns in a game, in a chess game, but you've got to be aware. You've got to wake up to what moves are coming up, okay? The decisions that people make usually have nothing to do with you. That would be Cindy in my case. They are just living their lives the best way they can. In other words, anybody who's born into this world, they come in the way they are. You're not going to change it. So don't torment yourself trying to do that, overdoing it like I did. It will all work out for you if you don't take it personally. And there it is. That's the magic sauce right there. As soon as you feel yourself moving into taking it personally, your feelings are hurt. You're disappointed. You feel let down. They don't appreciate you. It goes on and on. Write in your journal about what is going on with you and why you're feeling like that. You guys, this will clear up in no time if you just you have this this is your arsenal. This is your it's your secret sauce. Your guides see what's going on, so ask them for help when you need it. They will keep you on track. But the only way you're going to capture what they told you when it does come through, you won't catch it. You really won't. If they don't scream at you, they whisper. But they can't reach you if you're not listening. And how do you remember what you asked for? You write it down. Writing this stuff down, you guys, is going to clear up your life. Then when the guidance comes through, you're going to remember what you asked and how that guidance relates to what you wrote down, what you asked them for. Okay? All right. And the next one is a tip. The momentum of the real estate boom in the 1970s was what allowed me to get out of real estate clean. No one thought it could end. No one wanted it to in the business. They weren't willing to see the signs right in front of them, and they really were obvious, but only to me. Not only was I selling every real estate investment I had, I was planning a divorce and a property settlement agreement. Winding down and severing ties with Alex took all the energy I could conjure up, because at this point I was really tired and somewhat disappointed. You will be disappointed. Things that happen that you have no control over, even if you don't take them personally, even if you do the right things and you take action on it, even when you write it in your journal, you will feel disappointment. Write that down too. Clean up the whole thing, okay? Let's start getting this right instead of life pushing you around. All the years of building up what we had were coming to a close. Yes, it was sad. You're a human. You write it down and then you feel sad. You're going to feel sad. You're going to feel mad. You're going to feel all the feelings, okay? That's how you heal it, is by feeling it. This was the conclusion that my guides had shown me in 1971 when I was 19 years old. At this point, I was 25 years old. When they told me my marriage would come to an end, and by then I would be able to make it on my own. It took 7 years to come full circle, 1971 through 1978, but come to pass, it did. And here's the tip. Many times your guides show you the beginning and the conclusions of an event at the same time. It's like a dream you have that seems like it's all over the place. or in reverse order. That's because there's no time where they are. So when things happen, it isn't linear for them. It's like taking a bunch of pieces, then you figure it out. That's another reason you have to write it down. You won't see it until it's out of here in the confusion, in the day-to-day living out your life on the pages. You've got to see it outside of you. All right. I would be able to make it on my own. It took 7 years for that to come full circle. Okay, and here's the tip. Many times your guides show you the beginning and the conclusion of an event at the same time or in reverse. That's because there is no time where they are. It's all linear for them. It isn't linear for them. Your job is not to overthink it or to inject too much analysis into it so you cancel out what just came through by second guessing the direction that you are being guided to move into. That's like, I'm going to explain this. That's like hearing somebody speak a language to you that you don't speak. And you just cancel it all out like they never said anything. And that's not true. Maybe what they told you would have saved your life. Maybe what they told you would have made a life change for you that would have been amazing for the rest of your life. Same thing goes with your guides. Consider this to be a new language that you need to learn. Open your mind and don't close it. So as you write in your journal, what you're going to notice as you become proficient with this and every day, in fact, you look forward to it. All right. And you sit down and do that. You're going to start to see where guidance infiltrated your writing, slipped in a one-liner, a paragraph, 3 words. You'll look back at it when you review it a day, a week, a month, a year later, and you'll go, wow, I really don't remember writing that. That's because you were in the present moment and merging with your guides. You guys are not alone. You're not in this life alone. You're not expected to do this yourself. All right. Okay, and now we're going to get to the last one I'm going to read today. Where are we? Yeah, we have time. Okay, and this is going to be a tip. Bringing things to a conclusion exposed the totality of what had been building under the surface for years. Okay, see, if you had been writing it down, all the things that start to happen in your life when they speed up and it's like dominoes falling and you can't control it. Look what happened in 2020. That wasn't your fault. You can't control that. But had you been writing in your journal in 2019, you would have had a lot of information there. I remember driving to Sacramento to get a final building permit when I saw a homeless man wasting away on a park bench. And I just broke down crying. Okay, when something like this happens, where you have a response you did not see coming, or you focused on something that you never would have otherwise focused on. Why did you focus on it? You guys, that's guidance. That's how guidance moves you through your life. And that's when the reaction that shows up is your truth. In that moment, I knew my guides were showing me the path that Alex was destined for. I also knew that staying married to him was not the answer. It was shocking and unexpected. In an instant, they showed me that Alex didn't cheat on me. Remember, I thought when I found out he was about his infidelity and he had all these girlfriends, and I was like, what? That he didn't cheat on me. He cheated on himself. Suddenly, I was no longer hurt by his infidelity because once again, I was seeing it for what it was. There's no making stuff up. There's no, he broke my heart and write it down and you'll start to see the truth about what it was and really why it needed to happen. See, that's the part where humans get real backed up when you don't write it down. That insight stopped me from taking it personally. Thanks again to my guides. Around that time, Cindy came home from school one day saying that almost all her friends' parents were getting divorced. She was bragging that she was practically the only one whose parents were still together. She thought it was funny. After just 1 year in the new public school environment, Cindy not only adapted, but thrived. She liked the politics and head games that went on. She was a bully and played out her games of manipulation on everyone she could. She fit right in. She was the exact opposite of me in school. She had become the very thing I so desperately attempted to shield her from. She was out of touch and ego driven. In that moment, I sat her down and informed her that her dad and I were getting divorced. That was a sobering moment for her. Cindy was 9 years old, and she had pretty much everything she could have ever wanted, except that her dad was never good at being a dad. He never took the time with her growing up, and he was pretty immature. In light of this, I asked her why she was so upset that we were getting divorced since she was never close to her dad. She couldn't answer me. In that moment, I told Cindy that she should consider becoming an actress. I told her that if she didn't direct her natural tendency to manipulate and create drama in her life in another direction, it would turn on her in negative ways later on. She was surprised to hear that. It was a bitter, sweet moment of truth for her. It addressed her negative tendencies and showed her how to direct them in a positive way. I knew I couldn't change her, only show her a path that would support her and prevent her from falling into a life of self-created torment. You guys, you can't change anybody. And you may not like what you see. If it's your friend or your kid or your husband, you may not like it. You're not going to change them. So the only choice there really is to find a way, whether it's yourself or someone else you're trying to help, for you to move in a direction that does the best job of utilizing your gifts and talents. The guides always bring that up. I wondered if she would turn out to be one of those people that I couldn't reach. Tip: being a parent doesn't mean you own your kids. They come in the way they are. It's really that simple. You can try to give them direction, but it's their life to do what they want. If they turn out to be someone you're proud of, you can't take the credit for it, but boy, are you tempted. If they turn out to be someone who disappoints you, you can't take the blame either. That is a relief. They don't come from you, they come through you. It's like this is more like how the law of attraction really works. These are people from different times and lifetimes you've had, and they played different roles in those lifetimes than they play in this one. And you played different roles, and everybody, it's all a process. It's called karma. You keep coming back to get it right, to improve on who you are. It's like that piece of sand that gets lodged in that clam, and it's uncomfortable the minute it lands in its pristine environment, and you start pushing it and you want it out of there, and you don't like it, and it bothers you, and it itches and it bothers you. Okay, that's what a whole lifetime of persistence is all about. If you write it in your journal, you won't have as much labor to go through pushing on that piece of sand. You won't resist it so hard. You'll know. You will be aware. You will have a higher awareness. You will be present. And that piece of sand, you'll utilize it. You'll use it to your benefit. Okay? All right, you guys. So, contemplate how guidance is always working in your life. Join me again next Saturday at 1 p.m. on my Facebook page, my Facebook timeline, and my YouTube channel. And remember, you are never alone and always being guided.